Dr. Strangelove is a 1964 film satire by director Stanley Kubrick that looks at the Cold War and those who man the switches. The archetypes in this great film, from Jack the Ripper to Dr. Strangelove himself, seem over the top until you realize that there were and still remain in key posts individuals equally, if not more, loony in our government who have their finger on the button. Truth is really stranger than fiction. Based on the 1958 book called Red Alert by Peter George and a script co-written with longtime collaborator Terry Southern, Dr. Strangelove is a Swiss watch of movie precision starring James Earl Jones, Keenan Wynn, George C. Scott, Sterling Hayden, and the ubiquitous Peter Sellers as Group Captain Lionel Mandrake, President Merkin Muffley, and Dr. Strangelove. In this video, I will go over some of the themes contained in the film. Thanks, and please leave your own comments after watching this video. There is a correlation between Jack the Ripper ordering the bomber to nuke Russia, coitus, or sexual intercourse, and the Doomsday Machine, described as a machine that can't be shut off once triggered. Once Ripper sends the go code to the 843rd Bomb Wing for the bombs to be dropped on Russian targets, every attempt to stop the bombers ultimately fails. In other words, the Doomsday Machine is 1. The Russian device itself. 2. A metaphor for Jack the Ripper's commitment to bombing Russia. And 3. Sexual intercourse and the point of ejaculation and loss of control. Ripper explains it to Mandrake this way. Women sense my power and they seek the life essence. I do not avoid women, Mandrake, but I do deny them my essence. Denying women his essence means that during the act of sex, he pulls out prior to the moment of ejaculation, or, in keeping this idea in the context of the bombers heading towards Russia, Ripper sends the recall code to the bombers carrying his essence, which are the bombs themselves. This explains the fact that he commits suicide before being captured by the army. Because in order for the bombers to drop their loads, there can be no interference from the mind. He kills himself, fearing he'd give up the recall code under torture. Just remember that. But there can be no interference from the mind, which also explains why none of the radios in all of the bombers can receive messages. At a certain point in the act of sex, the mind shuts off, which is why the radio on Major Kong's plane gets damaged. The fact that all of the planes except for this one plane gets recalled is also an analogy of fertilization. This scenario coincides with the id as defined by Wikipedia's article entitled Id, Ego, and Superego. It is the source of our bodily needs, wants, desires, and impulses, particularly our sexual and aggressive drives. The id contains the libido, which is the primary source of instinctual force that is unresponsive to the demands of reality. And from WebMD, the average ejaculation contains about 150 million sperm, but the majority of them will prove unfit for travel. Only one will actually penetrate. This analogy can't be ignored given the offbeat nature of the plot. Everything in this film is calculated and nothing in it is random. And remember also Ripper comparing the loss of his essence with a profound sense of fatigue, and compare this with the plane running out of fuel or becoming fatigued and unable to reach its target. Major Kong going down into the bomb bay to manually fix the damaged doors is masturbation within the sexual context I use here. Here's a chronology of the Doomsday Machine. Jack the Ripper perceives that America is under attack by Russia. He orders Mandrake to confiscate all the radios on the base. Ripper orders Mandrake to send a 3-digit standby code to 843rd Bomb Wing. Major Kong double checks and confirms the code. He assumes the worst, that Russia has already made a sneak attack on Washington. Major Kong initiates the attack profile, which involves setting the plane's radio system to a 3-letter code prefix to protect communications between the bomber and base command. The only person who knows the 3-letter code prefix and can communicate with the bombers is Jack the Ripper. Ripper calls General Buck Turgidson to tell him that the 843rd Bomb Wing has been put under alert and that the planes are not able to get radio contact with base commander. Ripper then launches a preemptive attack on Russia. The U.S. Army lays siege to the command base and overwhelms its security force. Fearing that he will give up the 3-letter code under torture, Ripper commits suicide with a gunshot to the head. Russia hits the plane with a missile that hits but only succeeds in damaging the bomb door. Actually, the missile served to make stopping the bombing even more difficult by damaging the plane's communication system as well. Next, Mandrake figures out the 3-letter prefix to communicate with the bomber, but with the communication system on the blink, that's now impossible. Next, even though the plane is low on fuel and unable to make it to its primary target, there's just enough fuel to make it to a closer ICBM target. Next, Major Kong goes down into the bomb bay to get the doors to open. The doors were damaged by the missile. He crimps a couple of wires and the doors open directly over the target. The sequence of events initiated by Jack the Ripper ordering the planes to bomb the Soviets, Russia's doomsday machine, the sexual act of ejaculation that the bombing of Russia represents, all 3 of these elements illustrate processes that cannot be stopped until they are completed. Thus, all 3 are the Doomsday Machine. Another element supporting my interpretation of the Doomsday Machine is the correlation of there being one target and the fact that there is only one woman in the entire film against an entire cast of men, analogous to millions of sperm competing for a single ovary. This ends my video, and also my interpretation of the Doomsday Machine in Stanley Kubrick's terrific classic film, Dr. Strangelove. Thanks for watching this video, and feel free to leave a comment at the bottom, and also in the description I've included a link that you could go to my blog and access other film reviews and analyses such as this one. Thank you, and I will see you next time.